I remember the day I got my first real money. Not the kind that lets you buy a phone or rent a better apartment, but the kind after which people start looking at you differently. At first, it felt like victory, as if life had finally admitted that I deserved more. I worked without sleep, took risks, lost, rose again. And one day, the numbers in my account became so large they stopped making sense. But back then, I didn't know that money is only the first door. When you become truly wealthy, it's not only your house or your social circle that changes. The silence around you changes. People start agreeing before you even finish speaking. They stop arguing with you, stop refusing you, stop being honest. At first it's pleasant, then convenient, and then it becomes frightening, because at some point you realize you no longer know who around you is real. The first billion doesn't bring happiness, it brings access. Phones that once couldn't be reached suddenly answer. Doors that were closed open on their own. You're invited to places where before you saw only security and black cars. And that's exactly when the real game begins. At first, it's just dinners, long tables, calm conversations, people whose names you've seen in the news. They laugh quietly, speak little, watch carefully. No one discusses money there. Money is a lower level. They talk about influence, about the future, about things that will happen in 10 years. And sitting among them, you understand. You're no longer outside. You're inside. But the real circle doesn't open immediately. First, you are tested, not with words, with decisions. Do you watch when others turn away? Do you stay silent when silence is wiser? Are you ready to place loyalty above profit? No one explains this. You simply feel it, as if the room itself decides whether you deserve to stay. The higher you rise, the smaller the world becomes. Not geographically, emotionally. Ordinary conversations lose their meaning. Ordinary joys stop working. You can buy anything, except the feeling that something greater still lies ahead. And at that exact moment, an invitation appears. The envelope had no name, no address. Only a symbol I had already seen with one of those people at the long table. Inside, a time and a place. No explanations. But I already knew. If you receive an invitation like this, it cannot be ignored. Not because you'll be forced, but because after that, you simply stop being seen. The place was far from any city. The silence there was different, dense, almost physical. People arrived quietly, no security, no phones. For the first time in years, no one tried to seem more important. Because here, everyone was already at the top. No one called it a club. No one said the word ritual. Yet everything had order. Arrival times, seats at the table, words spoken the same way every year. It didn't look strange. Rather, too calm. As if it had always been this way. The most unexpected part. They didn't talk about money. And barely about power. The conversation was about something else. The fear of losing control. Time that cannot be bought. The trace you leave behind. People the world considers the most powerful discuss the same thing as anyone alone in the dark at night. Meaning. Then came a moment that cannot be described precisely. Not because it's a secret, but because what matters is not the action. It's the choice. Everyone is asked the same question. Are you ready to be part of the circle until the end? Not for a year, not for a deal, but forever. In that moment, I understood something people outside never understand. The highest price is never measured in money. The price is the freedom to leave. While you're outside, you think power gives freedom. But inside the circle, you realize the opposite. The greater the power, the fewer the exits. I saw people who agreed without hesitation, and those who stayed silent for too long. They didn't disappear physically, but one day, their names simply stopped being spoken. In a world built on connections, that's enough. Years passed quickly. From the outside, my life looked perfect. Companies grew, wealth increased, interviews where I said the right words. But inside, one question remained. Where do I end and the circle begin? Sometimes at night, I think about the day I earned my first million. Back then, everything felt simple, honest, clear. I thought I was rising upward, But now I understand. Every door at the top leads not only to opportunity, but to obligation. People ask whether such closed places really exist. I answer differently. The question is not whether they exist. The question is, what happens to a person when they gain too much power? Because that's when they begin searching for those who understand their fear. And if one day you find yourself at the top, if the world is open before you, if at night you receive an envelope with no name, remember, the most important decision is not to enter, but to understand whether you'll be able to leave afterward. Be honest. If you were in my place and knew the price in advance, would you still climb that high?